in a world that's just constantly pulling us in 1,000 directions, with all the notifications and the uncertainty, finding that genuine inner strength, that calm center, it feels really challenging, almost countercultural even. We're all looking for that steady anchor, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into an ancient philosophy that honestly offers a remarkably potent guide for building resilience. We're talking about Stoicism.
Yeah, and what's really compelling here, I think, is just how timeless this wisdom actually is. You look at figures like Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, right? His personal reflections, they still hit home thousands of years later. And his key insight, really the cornerstone of Stoicism, is this idea of ruthlessly focusing your energy on what you can control. And this is crucial, gracefully accepting what you cannot. It's not about resignation, not at all. It's about forging a mindset that doesn't just, survive tough times, but actually thrives because of them.
Exactly. Okay. So our mission for this deep dive then is to pull out the most practical, the most actionable principles from Stoicism. We really want to help empower you to build that emotional resilience, to face life's inevitable curveballs, not just with quiet confidence, but with a kind of unshakable inner calm. Let's dig into how these ancient ideas can genuinely help with modern challenges. Okay, so for those of us maybe familiar with the big names, Zeno, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, what's be a common misconception about Stoicism's core ideas? Or maybe something surprising about its early history that really shaped how practical it became?
Well, yeah, that's a great starting point, because a lot of people jump to the conclusion that Stoicism means suppressing emotions or being cold and distant. That's really not it at all. It actually kicked off in Athens way back in the early 3rd century BC with Zeno of Citium. He used to teach from this painted porch, the Stoa, and well, that's where the name comes from. Its core isn't apathy. It's about living in tune with nature and, importantly, with reason. Later figures like Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they built on this, really emphasizing that virtue, things like wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, that virtue is the ultimate good. It's the only real path to a fulfilled life. And maybe the surprising thing, how intensely active and engaged with the world this philosophy actually is. It's definitely not about detachment in that sense.
That distinction feels really important, yeah. I've always been struck by how they didn't just talk about virtue as some abstract ideal, but almost like a practical guide for living. Could you maybe break down how they saw those cardinal virtues translating into, actual daily actions?
Absolutely. Think of them like your internal compass guiding you. So wisdom, it's not just book smarts, it's the ability to tell what's truly good, bad, or just, and different, and applying reason to whatever life throws at you. Courage is about facing fear, sure, but not just physical danger. It's also about confronting difficult truths or acting even when you feel anxious. Justice goes beyond just laws. It's about fairness, kindness, recognizing that we're all connected as humans, and temperance. That's self-control, moderating desires, avoiding excess, which ultimately leads to that inner peace, that tranquility. These aren't just lofty ideas. They're things you practice daily to build a strong inner foundation.
Right. And speaking of those figures, Marcus Aurelius, he really stands out. The philosopher king, famous for his personal writings, the Meditations. What makes his contribution so powerful, especially considering, his unique position?
Well, his writings are just extraordinary because they were never meant to be published. That's the key. Meditations is basically his private journal. It's him talking to himself about self-discipline, about mortality, about trying to maintain inner peace while running the Roman Empire. The pressure. And his struggles were very real: wars, plagues, personal losses. His philosophy wasn't theoretical. It was hammered out in that very real crucible. His famous quote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just a nice line. It's earned wisdom from someone applying these principles under incredible stress. That's why it feels so raw and, frankly, so relevant to our own daily stresses, big or small.
Okay, so if we want to build this kind of stoic muscle, this resilience, it sounds like it's not just about thinking differently, it's about actively doing things. What are some actual techniques we can, weave into our daily lives?
That's spot on. It's definitely an applied philosophy. One really powerful practice, often misunderstood, is negative visualization. Now, this isn't about being gloomy or expecting the worst, not at all. It's more like a calculated mental rehearsal. You vividly, deliberately contemplate losing things you value, maybe your health, a relationship, even just simple comforts. The point isn't to invite disaster, but to kind of inoculate yourself against taking things for granted. It short-circuits that hedonic treadmill feeling and unlocks this deep appreciation for what you have right now. It can turn daily annoyances into moments of gratitude because you've mentally walked through a much worse scenario.
Wow, okay. That's a powerful way to reframe things. Makes you more grateful and, I guess, less likely to fly off the handle at small stuff.
Yeah, precisely. And building on that, focusing on what is within your control is absolutely fundamental. The Stoics were very clear. True freedom comes from separating what you can influence, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, from what you cannot, like external events or what other people think. By pouring your energy only into your sphere of control, you reclaim your agency, you keep your balance, even when things get chaotic. It's like mental triage, really. And lastly, embracing adversity as a path to growth. This is huge. This idea connects back to the dichotomy of control. Challenges themselves aren't inherently good or bad. It's our judgment about them that makes them feel that way. So if you choose to see challenges as, say, a testing ground for your virtues, your courage, your wisdom, your patience, they transform from obstacles into training exercises for your character. It's a fundamental shift that builds almost like an inner armor.
That really emphasizes shifting the focus inward, doesn't it? And speaking of internal states, it strikes me how much of this sounds a bit like modern mindfulness practices. Is there like a historical link, or did they just arrive at similar conclusions about self-awareness?
Oh, there's a definite overlap, a profound common ground, really. Both Stoicism and mindfulness put a huge emphasis on cultivating presence, being really aware of your thoughts and your emotional state. Through mindfulness, you get better at just observing your mental chatter and emotional reactions without getting immediately sucked in. And that observation builds self-understanding. A key Stoic practice that taps into this is daily reflection.
Like doing a personal audit at the end of the day.
Exactly that. Taking some time, usually in the evening, to just review your actions, your thoughts, your reactions throughout the day. Seneca, for instance, apparently asked himself stuff like, what fault did I cure today? What vice did I push back against? How am I better? It's a structured way to hold yourself accountable to your own values, your virtues. It promotes that deep self-awareness and encourages ongoing growth. And the Stoic approach adds another layer, observing emotions without judgment, recognizing them as, natural, temporary signals rather than absolute truths about reality. That non-judgmental stance creates crucial space between feeling something and reacting to it, allowing for more considered, rational responses.
Okay, and on emotions, managing them well seems critical for inner peace.
Yeah.
What are some other Stoic techniques for emotional regulation beyond just observing them?
Well, one important concept is emotional detachment. Though that term can sound a bit cold, it really doesn't mean becoming emotionless or robotic. It's more about creating a kind of healthy, reasoned distance. You acknowledge the feeling, anger, frustration, whatever, but you don't let it hijack your behavior or overwhelm your thinking. The benefit: greater clarity, the ability to respond thoughtfully instead of just, lashing out impulsively. Another really powerful tool is reframing negative thoughts, consciously shifting your perspective. So instead of seeing a setback as purely bad, you try to reframe it as an opportunity for growth, or maybe a problem as an exercise for developing your character, your patience, perhaps.
That's a huge cognitive shift. Are there other, practical tools that help with that kind of emotional processing?
Oh, absolutely. Journaling, what the Stoics often refer to as that nightly reflection, is a fantastic tool here. It's more than just a diary of events. It's like a moral inventory. Writing things down lets you dissect your feelings, figure out what triggers certain reactions, track patterns over time. It really helps build a more balanced, reasoned mindset. It's where you put the theory into practice right there on the page.
This all feels like it's building towards something even bigger, doesn't it? This whole idea of acceptance. I've often heard the phrase amor fati used with Stoicism. What does that actually mean?
Amor fati. Yes. It translates to love of fate, and it's absolutely central to Stoic acceptance, but it's way more than just passively resigning yourself to things. True amor fati isn't passive at all. It's an active, you might even say defiant, embrace of everything that happens, the good, the bad, the unexpected. It's this radical idea that every setback, every challenge, every twist, it's not something to just put up with. It's the raw material for your own development. You don't just accept it, you actively love it because you understand it's what shapes you. It makes you incredibly resilient because your well-being isn't dependent on external circumstances lining up perfectly.
So it's the fighting against it, the resistance, that's the real source of the suffering.
That's exactly it. When we fight against things we can't control, we just create needless suffering, frustration, anxiety. Letting go of that resistance, that's what opens the door to real resilience and adaptability. It frees up your energy to focus on what actually matters, your internal response, your character. Embracing amor fati genuinely empowers you to find meaning and purpose in literally every experience, no matter how tough it seems. It makes you profoundly free in a way.
Yeah, that's a truly profound thought. Okay, so how do we actually start weaving these powerful Stoic ideas into our everyday lives? It sounds like it could be life-changing, but, where do you realistically begin?
Right, the practical steps. Well, one really effective practice is integrating morning contemplation and evening reflection. Start your day, maybe just for 5 minutes, thinking about your goals, potential challenges, and setting a Stoic intention, like focusing on patience or reason. Then, at night, do that reflection we talked about. Review the day, see how well you lived up to your values. It creates a nice feedback loop. Also, actively setting intentions based on those cardinal Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Let those consciously guide your decisions and how you interact with people throughout the day. It makes the abstract feel concrete.
And it sounds like it's not just an internal game, right? It involves the world outside your head, too.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Your environment matters. Surrounding yourself with supportive influences is really important. Actively seek out friends, mentors, maybe even online communities that encourage thoughtful discussion, reasoned thinking, personal growth. You want people around who will challenge you in a positive way and reinforce those Stoic virtues through their own example, or at least support your efforts. So by incorporating these practical things, the daily self-audits, living intentionally, having supportive connections, you can genuinely cultivate that mindset that embraces challenges, builds inner strength, and leads to a much more resilient and ultimately fulfilling life.
Wow. This has been such an illuminating deep dive into Stoicism. We've really unpacked not just the core ideas, but that critical difference between control and acceptance, and how practical techniques like negative visualization, that daily reflection, and fostering true amor fati can fundamentally boost your resilience.
Yeah, and it's so vital to remember this isn't just some dusty old philosophy for academics. It's profoundly practical. It's an actionable framework for living well, for navigating challenges with grace, and finding real purpose day to day. It really gives you a mental toolkit to understand and skillfully respond to the world, rather than just being reactive all the time.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. If practicing Stoic principles is this ongoing process, this constant refinement of your inner world, what hidden reservoirs of strength, maybe creativity, and genuine inner calm might you discover within yourself? By embracing these ideas, not just reading about them once, but making them a consistent way of living. It really shifts the focus from just enduring life to actively shaping your experience of it day by day.